Hey, Dave, I appreciate you taking out the time today and chatting with us.
Yeah, excited to be here, Peter. So it'll be fun.
Well, before we get into what you guys are doing now, would love to hear a little backstory of you and how you got into real estate, and then we can take it from there.
Yeah, certainly. I've been doing it for a while at this point, but I moved down to Atlanta in 2008. So I've been investing in real estate in the Atlanta market, really Southeast since then. I started up in Pennsylvania. I was doing small renovations, really just out of high school.
Okay.
It was something I was always passionate in, and I super enjoyed doing the physical improvements and laying tile, fixing little electrical stuff. I like doing that stuff. I always liked it. So that was something I started out with, just doing it as trying to generate some passive income a long time ago at this point.
Yeah.
And then now running a full scale vertically integrated investment business. So we're doing everything from the management to CapEx projects to funding the debt side. We're doing all of the pieces in house now. And it's been a great career for me. I always encourage people, if they want something where they can, kind of control their own destiny, real estate is a good spot for that.
Yeah, 100%. So you were doing it before 2008 real estate, sounds like, right?
Yep.
Okay. And then you moved to Atlanta in 2008, is that what you said?
Correct. Yeah. I started buying stuff really started in Atlanta around 2008. And then I bought in some other cities around here, like Charlotte and Raleigh, Chattanooga, Tennessee. These places are pretty close to Atlanta.
Yeah.
So they're not too far. They're all drivable. But that's really kind of concentrated in the Southeast, and I've really stuck to down here. Normally it's warmer, but it's cold right here. It's cold here today. So,
well, I think it's cold everywhere. It's raining in California, so or at least Southern California.
Yeah.
So that, which few and far between on the days. But so okay, are single family residents when you back in Atlanta?
Yeah, I did. I mean, I did single family rentals for probably 10 years.
Okay.
Where I tried to buy more townhomes. My original idea was buying townhomes because I only had a front and a back to worry about. I didn't have to worry about the side walls.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I thought, looking at it, I was like, this is a little bit cheaper, but obviously there's pros and cons to, single family or townhome or however you're looking at it. But,
well, let's talk about that. I mean, I know that, like you said, there's pros and cons. You got associations, you have assessments and stuff like that. And people are completely against them, or I feel like there's no like gray area. It's either black and white, like you're completely against them or you're for them. So for you, when you thought, okay, hey, I can go into townhome and condos, did you change your mind after you had a few of them?
Not necessarily. I think in housing, there's like a progression that you go through, right?
Yeah.
And I think when you're starting, if you start in an apartment, you've got windows on one side maybe, and eventually you work your way to a townhome, you got two sides of windows, and if you get to a single family home, you got windows on all sides. And it's like, okay, great.
Yeah.
But it's just a progression of where you're living at the time and what you can do and what you can afford. And, even for me, starting out, I always had roommates, and you're trying to figure out, how are you going to pay for all this housing stuff? You don't want to spend as much money. You want to spend as little as possible when you're younger on housing. So townhomes are great for that.
Yeah.
Right. And even as you get older, though, typically they're well located, you've kind of closer to stuff. They're easier to maintain in a lot of instances for someone who's going to own one. They're good. You own a single family home or you rent a single family home, but you've got a lot more maintenance associated with, just a bigger, larger area.
Yeah. Okay. All right. And then, so, let's talk about the time frame of that, era. And it was obviously not great for real estate. How were you able to weather the storm? I know that everybody probably asks you that.
But yeah, it was more of a basis, right? Trying to make sure that not overpaying for stuff. You had to watch your margins all the time. There wasn't a lot of rental growth that was in the market, and you had rental contraction because you had occupancies going up and you were, really trying to fight for residents and keep them. But overall, it worked in the market. It was much more of there wasn't as much debt. So you just had to be a more conservative player in the space. And it really helped. I've been an owner operator my whole life. So I never really did third party or never really outsourced the management component. And I think that helps you be a little more cost conscious, helps you, weather the storm a little bit more. But you also, it's not easy. You know, you're the one that's getting all the calls and you're handling everything.
Yeah. So on my rentals when I first started, definitely managed all the stuff myself too. Would you suggest that would be something that someone takes on if they have a few rentals, especially in the beginning, just to experience the calls, the blows, and the ups and downs?
I think it's one of the best education pieces you can have in real estate is really just understanding like what is that communication between the management side and the tenant, and how does that work, and what are the expectations. It helps you build your models going forwards to understand what things cost better, helps you understand what tenants are looking for because they're telling you directly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
You can see what leases, like you can see all the information firsthand if you've spent some time boots on the ground and really can see it for yourself.
I agree. It's kind of like being a contractor and then starting to do flips. Like you don't have to do this, but a lot more of the construction, how much, or how it will take, removing a wall or putting in a new kitchen. I used to be a fireman for 15 years, and like the older guys that I worked with, they were like, yeah, like most of the firemen were like, yeah, I was a contractor, or I worked for a contractor prior to being a fireman, and I know the construction of homes. And I wasn't a contractor, but I was able to gather that when I was a fireman, like, hey, this is what this wall does. This is a load bearing wall, all those other things that go into, a lot of things that you look at on single family condos and townhomes or multifamily. You're like, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. I was always looking for construction that I could work in easily because, in the Southeast, we had a lot of construction in the 1970s. So you had a lot of brick, 2-story construction, and that stuff, it was all made relatively the same.
Yes.
So it was easier, to buy consistent vintage and then know exactly what you're walking into.
Yeah.
That really helped versus you buy something that's a lot older and you've got, totally different walls, or you buy something like 80s or 90s, they're using different types of plumbing, polybutylene came in, and different types of PVC, and you just open yourself up to more and more challenges. You try to take on all sorts of different vintages.
Yes. Yeah. 100%. And that, you have, different construction, especially that 70s point for newer construction or, the conventional construction prior to. So, all right. So as you go along, you get through, weather the storm of 2008, 9, 10, 11, into 2012, things start picking up. So, slowly progress along that timeline. What did real estate look like for you from like 2013 till now?
Really, I mean, it's been opportunistic that whole time. It's been a great 10 years, which is crazy. It's been 10 years from them, but 10 years to be in real estate. A lot of the economic policies we've had has been advantageous to people that are holding hard physical assets like real estate. So that's done very well. The debt markets have been in good shape since then, meaning there hasn't been like kind of illiquidity in the debt market. So there's always been readily available market capital for that, which really helps values long term. And anytime you have like a consistency in a market, I think it's able to perform better. Really started 2013 was all apartments, and that's where we saw the most distress and value add opportunities. Taking that over the years, we've gone into all sorts of other asset classes, buying warehouses and commercial and even office right now. Office anywhere you look is probably the most distressed asset out there. So you've got the least amount of buyers in that space and probably the most, and people aren't actually actively selling that much in the office, but there's the least amount of capital that's flowing into office compared to other asset classes. We've been able to find some good deals. We're doing some office conversions to unique spaces and finding opportunities there, but it's really just been opportunistic from 2013 to here. Bought a bunch of mobile home communities in the middle of that as well. So we did, apartments to mobile homes, and then moved into the commercial side as well.
Gotcha. And what for you, what's your bread and butter right now? What's your, main focal point?
Yeah, no, right now, the thing I'm most excited about is single story office buildings.
Okay.
In predominantly suburban locations. It goes back to that, you pick a vintage that you can work with and you understand how they're built. Here in Atlanta and a lot of the Southeast, in the kind of 80s, 90s timeframe, we had a lot of suburban activity.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when they built a lot of single story office that kind of moving from downtowns and expanded out. You're driving, it's close to where people live. And those have all been suburban office layouts for a while, where you have a large amount of surface parking. Everyone's driving to them. They're not necessarily near a metro type thing. They're all single story, but they're pretty high ceilings. And we're able to take those and convert those to flex and warehouse type space right now.
Okay.
And they're not modern warehouse. You look at a modern, I think Amazon is, you see their buildings, you see their sign on it, and like, man, this thing is massive. It's not that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's completely opposite of what I'm looking at. I'm looking at typically 30, 50,000 square foot buildings that were single story office, and we can convert those to a few well-located, single story flex spaces. So you got maybe a few offices, mostly warehouse space with some roll-up doors, and it's in good location to lots of other residential properties.
Okay. So what would be the end consumer once you do that conversion to flex space?
Yeah, it's all sorts of local service businesses that are operating.
So like a plumber, like a, electrician, stuff like that.
Yeah. And you think people that, they're going to want to maybe park their truck inside at night, especially if it's like an electrician truck, they're going to park that inside. They can store all their stuff inside. They're driving in and out. And in a typical tenant's maybe 2 to 4 or 5,000 square feet.
Okay. And how much, real quick, on that. So how much are you looking to, obviously each property is different, but what's your estimate on repairs and conversion that you're looking at roughly?
So in the Southeast, we're able to spend about $10 a square foot. Okay. And it varies a good amount based on, how big is the building, but we're also looking for more rectangular shaped buildings. We don't want a perfect square because it's hard to divide up.
Yeah.
We want a rectangular building. We want plumbing going in the proper direction so it's easy to subdivide. We've got to have the right roof structures. We've got to have the right parking lots. So once we have, all of our check marks checked, we can do it pretty affordably in our opinion, but the building has to be almost exactly right for that to work.
Yeah.
And that part is tricky to find. We look at a lot of different deals, and we've done about 7 or 8 of these office conversions so far. But we probably looked at 1,000 of them. I don't even know. It seems like we look at an endless amount of them. Yeah. You're just as simple as looking at the overlay on the Google Maps and trying to see, hey, could this work or not work?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of reasons it would not work. So.
Okay. And so what would you say time frame wise? You and I pick up one, this week we close, and for us to start the remodel process or conversion process to when we get it back to that end consumer, what's that rough time estimate?
Yeah. So the majority of it is really the permitting process. Yeah. Because you've got a different use that you're going in there. So there's a lot of work that goes into that part of it. The actual doing the work is mostly demolition work, and it's relatively quick. Yeah. If there were no permitting, you could probably do it in a month. Mm-hmm. But there is going to be permitting because you've got uses that are different and traffic flows that are different. So once you get all your approvals, it's probably going to take like 7-8 months. Okay. On average to get one of the spaces turned over. Okay. Got it. All right. But it's just still, it's pretty darn quick.
That is quick.
Yeah. Overall, it's not a long drawn out process. It's pretty quick. So.
And what would you say, on purchase price for those for office space? Are you guys getting it, 70 cents on the dollar, 80 cents? What's depending on obviously the
most of the office stuff going into it, folks weren't very highly leveraged to begin with.
Okay.
So a lot of the deals we're buying on the office side, they're not super distressed where it's like, oh my gosh, we gotta exit this thing right now because we're way upside down. It's like they don't really have that much debt to begin with. Most of our longer term owners, they're doing fine on their overall exit.
Yeah.
So we're still, I don't necessarily think we're getting a huge like discount to what it's worth right now.
Okay.
But it is well below, and there's less buyers than say a year ago.
Got it.
Where, you know, a year ago you were seeing, well, I would say maybe like 2-3 years ago is when it was like, wait a minute, there's going to be some problems with office. And in the past year, now it's been like, okay, where is this turning out? And now we're, you know, $70, $80 a square foot that we can get stuff for that fits our box.
Got it. Okay.
And we're happy with those numbers. But that's also, you got to buy a good amount of land.
Yes.
Right? Like we need a lot of parking to be able to turn it into a warehouse type structure. It's not like, hey, we had 10 parking spots and this is good. No, we need like hundreds of parking spots all over the place. So
yeah, true. Because especially if it's, you know, a HVAC company that comes in there, they got employees, they have customers that come into the front end of the store and, you know, everything else at times. So yeah, 100%. And do you guys have, how's your team broken up on the, you know, the management side for operations and sales? Do you have some people that are looking for the deals and then, okay. All right.
Yeah. You know, so we're talking about being vertically integrated with it. So we really think about ourselves as we start on the operation side. Okay. So we have, you know, teams in the residential and the commercial segments, and they're everything from maintenance up. That's where we get our information on what works and what doesn't work. And we take that and then put that into our investment models to say, hey, this is what we're looking for because we know we can operate this type of an asset, or we know we can do this type of a conversion because, hey, we did these 5 and they went well, and we did this one over here and it didn't go well. So we know to avoid that one or what to do next. So that information kind of feeds up to our investment team. And from there, we're out, you know, looking and touring deals on a weekly basis with a couple partners and a couple individuals on the investment side out there seeking opportunities.
Got it. Okay, cool. And most of your deals come from, you know, due diligence on your team side or the relationships you have with brokers and stuff?
Mostly all brokers. We, you know, there's lots of stories of successes in doing mailers and reaching out and trying to do something individually with people. But we buy about 15 deals a year. And for us, it's worked better for us to have good broker relationships to make sure that when they can bring us a deal that we know we can transact on it and we can, you know, if we're ready, we can do the closing, we can get the deal done. That's been, it's been easier for us to acquire more deals in that fashion.
Yeah. Okay.
Different ways work for different people, but for us,
you
know, we don't have that kind of the cold outreach strategy or mentality. And we've got brokers we've worked with for, gosh, 12, 14 years, you know, a long time now that we've gotten some great deals through.
Okay. And then, so are you guys, and I think we talked a little bit about management, but are you guys managing some of these deals after you close them too? And
oh yeah, we manage everything.
Okay.
So everything we buy, we manage.
Got it. Okay. And how does that look on a commercial side? Are you guys applying a percentage monthly, or is there a fixed amount that you're charging?
Yeah, it's pretty similar to the residential side where we have a set management fee. Okay. And we're at 4% across our assets is what we normally charge a management fee.
Okay.
And then we have our team that, you know, they're charging hourly to properties. Most of our stuff being smaller size deals, there's not a dedicated person on that property all the time. So a lot of our teams are going between multiple sites. Okay. And then you've got the, you know, how many hours did I spend here or there? But, you know, that's handled by, you know, just hourly reporting and payroll tracking. But but everyone's going to multiple sites almost all the time. You know, hopefully we're mapping it out and hopefully saying, hey, look, you can go spend a day at this property, get everything done that needs to get done, or maybe you have a tour at a different one. But we're buying them in geographically localized areas and staffing accordingly to that.
Yeah. Okay. All right. What areas have you seen that takes the longest to do the permits versus areas that you've seen the shortest time? So you say like 7 months with, you know, some demo work and reconfiguration. with the permits. Are some areas a little bit shorter, like maybe, 3 to 4 months?
Yeah, it really depends on what's getting done there.
Yeah.
If you have a clear cut, hey, all we need to do is do the demo and open the space up. The permit stuff is pretty darn quick.
Okay.
What starts adding a lot more time is if, you've done that and now a tenant comes in and part of the TI process, they want to add sprinklers. And it's like, well, is there enough water pressure to do that? You got to get more and more people from the municipality involved. And that's really what ends up taking longer to do it.
Okay.
But yeah, there's no like, are some necessarily better or faster than others? Mostly all the areas we're operating in are built out suburban locations. It's not like greenfield development where you're going into, a county that it's all fresh development. Everything's already built.
Yeah.
So it's an existing building. It's got an existing history with the permitting office and zoning. They know where it is. They know what's there. It's had, well, in theory, it's had a business license or a certificate of occupancy there. So they've got some records. Occasionally you're like, they give you a little binder of goodies that you have to fix along the way too, but that's fine. We kind of expect that to happen on some of them. So.
Got it. Okay. And so you mentioned the past few years has been pretty, different with the market, or, it was good. And then it kind of changed and adjusted. So where are we at now? How was 2023 for you guys, especially getting deals and everything like that? What do you kind of see on the 2024 side as well?
Yeah. 2023 was one of our slower years on just trying to get things done. We found some big deals. Our typical deal size is like $5 to $10 million.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of our sweet spot of scale. We found, we did 8 deals, I think, in 2023. So, which was a little slower for us, but we bought some really big ones in there that were, over 20 million. So overall it was a good year. I'm happy every year, quite frankly, I'm happy every year that I get to keep being in real estate and keep doing this is a win for me. So it's another year of in the game and performing and finding some opportunities. So excited about that. I think 2024, we're going to see even more opportunities, mainly, half of the stuff that I'm looking at doing or really any real estate transaction requires 2 sides. You've got to have people that are willing to sell. You got to have people that are willing to buy.
Yeah.
And end of 2023, I think everyone was just skittish and uncertain about what was happening. So deal volume just went off a cliff.
Yeah.
There weren't a lot of buyers. People weren't selling because, everyone's had a pretty good run in real estate. So I think people are just in an okay spot and they're like, look, I'll just hold. I don't need to make a decision right now. I'll wait till next year.
Yeah.
See what happens with rates, or, pick your reason that you think things are going to change. It could be rates. It could be politics. It could be the market in general, or pick something. But I think people are more willing to wait till 2024. So I think you're going to see that 2023 volume fall into 2024. You got people making their 24 decisions, and then the 2023 people also making a decision this year. So it could be good from a volume standpoint, is what I see happening.
Yeah. So there's 2 things that come up. One is I agree with you definitely with the rates and everything else. You'll have the adjustment to when it comes to rates, and then all of a sudden you got the election coming up. So everybody's always like at a standstill. So I think the rate conversation from the feds is like, yes, the rates are going to come down. And they're already, as you know, the bond market is already showing signs that they've come down the past month and a half because they've talked about that. And then you got this double-edged sword where all of a sudden, Q4, it's going to slow down again because people are going to say, okay, well, let's just wait to see, maybe January comes into play, and, and then we can start up again. And then also there's this other adage that I've heard is, what is it? Something about 2025, like, basically stay strong until 2025. I forget the,
I've heard he's just trying to make it through and get to 2025.
Yes. Yeah. So that being said, I've had, 2 different conversations. I think honestly, out of those 2, scenarios of, the rates being, different, and then also the election, I think it will be definitely a better year from 2023. I think they'll have some people that, will struggle to make that decision on buying and selling, but overall, I think it's going to be volume standpoint. It's going to be a little bit better for sure. I think there's going to be some challenges still in the marketplace, but so you think you'll be up from the 8 that you guys were in 2023, or do you think it's going to be about the same?
Yeah, we'll be up in 2024. We sandbagged that a little bit because we already have a few deals that were delayed from 23 that we closed in 24. So we've already got 3 deals so far this year. So it's gonna, we'll surpass that pretty easily this year.
Yeah,
but we're already seeing more activity and opportunities coming through just in the past couple of weeks. And that Fed announcement came out like mid-January or mid-December, early December. And since then, we've seen more volume opportunities coming up than we typically do at this time of the year. So that's kind of why I'm saying I think 2024 is going to have, just more volume in general. Which I don't think is crazy. I think the end of 2023 was down like 70%. So it's not, I don't necessarily think it's too crazy to say it's going to come up from that. So.
Yeah, I've seen some reports too, like CNBC and a couple other ones that say like, the residential side was the slowest since like 1995 or something. So, these scenarios, with a lot of people, especially in the end of 2022, I would say was kind of the same, where like everybody was like, I'm kind of done. Rates have been jacked so high that I'm going to wait and sit on the sidelines for December. And it was pretty slow, and there's a lot of crickets to be heard in December. So I think, like you said, deals, people that were waiting on stuff, now they're really coming into play here January and then come February. So for you guys, what's like the the main focus? I know you guys are on purchase side and stuff like that, but if you could quantify one main thing for business wise, for your income streams, would you say it's the management or it's the conversion and the sale process?
Overall, right now, it's margins.
Okay.
Right. So, I mean, that comes into play when we're doing CapEx work. It comes into play when we're operating an asset, really anything we're doing. But, margin compression was pretty significant in 2023, kind of across all asset classes, where you saw a leveling of rent growth or slowing down of rent growth from previous years. And you saw expenses that keep on going up. Taxes and insurance has been, talked about endlessly from lots of different groups, but insurance is harder and harder to get, and it costs more and more money. It's not going in the right direction, really, in any market, and that's it puts pressure on operations because it creates margin compression, and you have to see rental rates rise to cover that. We have a lot of multifamily that we operate and own, but nationally, I think our expenses were up like 25, 28%. It's kind of the average. And a lot of people are saying, rental rate growth is going down, and some cities were 0 to 4% rental rate growth in 2024. That causes some issues right there. If like it or not, if taxes and insurance and maintenance costs go up, they're going to pass that cost through to residents, and you're going to see rental rates go up, or they're going to lose money. And that doesn't really work. Like it or not, all real estate is owned for profit, and they got to be able to cover their costs.
Yes. Yeah. 100%.
So we're really looking at that 2024. And that was a big part of 2023 is really making sure we could control our costs the best we could on what was a controllable item, and manage our revenue gains or market rent increases so that we can, still make money and stay efficient. But even in that, though, we don't want to be jacking people's rent up as much as possible. We want to make sure we can have strong retention numbers. People can stay in their homes, and we want to be able to do it as affordably as possible. Yeah, it's really our goal. Our even on the commercial side, if you can manage your costs better, a lot of commercial leases have CAM or common area maintenance that's passed through to the tenant. And as a manager, you owe them the fiscal responsibility to maintain those costs and do it as efficiently as possible, because those businesses don't want to have extra costs either. So you got to be working with your residents and your tenants to make sure you can do this stuff efficiently.
Okay. Yeah. So what would you say, making sure that, you get a property and it's, especially now with interest rates being where they're at, insurance and everything else, what's a couple of factors when you do take on a property to look at to make it more efficient or keep the tenants into place? Like, let's talk about multifamily specifically, how to make sure you take it over from a previous seller and you guys are going to get that to work better and put it as a well-oiled machine. What are some things that you guys do to put it in place?
Yeah, for us, I mean, one of the main considerations is just the mechanicals and the guts of the building. Like, how does it operate?
Sure.
If you have way out of date plumbing, you've got to bring that stuff up to be current, so that one, it operates with less day-to-day maintenance, and two, it doesn't cause headaches for residents.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, it's kind of that mantra of like, fix it the first time, fix it right. We operate on that mindset, and you look at mechanicals where you got HVACs and water heaters and that kind of stuff. Out in California, you don't have as much of that, but here it's like, it's a big deal. Your ACs and your heat, because we've got such wild, temperature swings.
Yes.
This stuff's got to work. And just doing preventative maintenance goes a long way to actually saving you money long-term. It's like you're spending a little bit more now to save it, and have a more consistent operating business. That's key. And that's something we're looking at all the time, making sure we can have in place maintenance programs for all the mechanical systems to maintain them and do the day-to-day stuff that's required to get the most efficient long-term use out of them.
Yeah. Okay. Because you've developed great relationships with brokers over the years, 12, 14 years, as you mentioned earlier. If I'm, brand new to the industry or a couple years into the industry, how should I go about developing those relationships? Outside of like, hey, I'm going to close on time and those types of things. What are some other key points that you can give the listeners on like how to develop relationships with those brokers?
Yeah. I think it's, you're closing on time is a big one, but also just being honest with who you are, what your appetite is, what you can and can't do, and what you're looking for, and being as clear and precise as possible.
Yeah.
You can tell me, show me all the deals, but it's like, do you really want them to show you everything? In our mind, it's been better. Like, hey, look, I only want these deals that you're in this part of town, built in the 1970s, with a parking ratio that's sufficient for me. There's probably other great deals out there, but that's what's good for me.
Yes.
And, execute on what you say you're interested in. Yeah. So I think it makes the conversations a lot easier when, you have a fully baked out idea of what you're doing.
Yeah.
You can convey that consistently and operate on that consistently, month over month, becomes quarters and years. And then brokers are like, look, hey, if I have this opportunity, I can bring it to Dave and his company, and they're going to execute on it because that's what they said they do. And that's what they've proven over the past, 12 years. Yeah. If you jump around too much, I think it makes it exhausting for both sides.
Yeah.
Brokers don't know what to bring you. And you're like, man, I should just look at more deals. It's like, you probably don't need to look at more.
Yeah. Yeah. You need to be precise and, spot on what you're looking for to make sense. Yeah. Okay. And how often should I be following up the brokers, especially developing that relationship? The first, I would say 2 to 4 years. Am I calling them like once a quarter saying like, hey, what do you have? If they don't remember me or I haven't closed the deal with them yet, how would I, bridge that gap?
Yeah, it's definitely reaching out to them and talking to them and then sharing stories of what you found and what you've done. Okay. Them knowing that you're active in the market, that, you have looked at some other stuff, you have closed some stuff, that goes a long way. So, and then also being like, hey, look, I closed one like this property. I would look to find another one just like it. So it's, you can give them a pretty good idea of what you're looking for. They'll go, brokers they make it very easy that, everyone would do it, but they go out there and they can go find the exact thing that you're looking for. And a lot of them are super good, and they'll drum up those opportunities that match what you're looking for. As long as you can prove that, hey, I can execute on that, they're going to go find it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, that's how they get paid, right? So, their
incentives are very aligned.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, bird dogging for sure, and bird dogging properties. Have you done, especially with the amount of volume you've done over the years, and have you structured some stuff seller finance? And if so, can you talk about that a little bit? I know that the past couple of years that's been a bigger thing in people's mind because a couple of people have come out of the woodworks on talking about that. But any deals like that?
Occasionally, we've
Okay.
done maybe like well, we did one in December that we just did. That was seller finance, but maybe one every other year.
Okay.
And it's more opportunity for the seller
Yes.
to defer kind of how they're paying taxes on their situation and moving stuff around. So for us, it's typically been a older individual who's owned a deal for a long time and would like to still get consistent, almost like an annuity for them. Like they see value in that. So we've structured deals like that, but that's really working with a seller so that like, look, we're eager to do a transaction. We think this is a good deal and we're willing to work with them to do something that works a little bit for them as well.
Okay. Can you talk about that structure just a little bit? How you, or maybe a previous one?
Yeah, we took really just kind of like a standard note payment and said, hey, we're going to pay you a fixed interest rate.
Okay.
A lot of times, there's someone who's doing seller financing doesn't necessarily have like a bank term structure behind them of how they're going to do it. So we really take our bank docs and would go to them. It's like, hey, here's the main points that you need to have in here. Here's how prepayments work. We've done everything from a 5 and a 10-year term on that. We're really trying to just match what the terms we would have with a normal bank.
Yeah.
We've typically one of them we did was it was interest only, but we prefer to be paying principal in our loans as a business. We prefer that. I think it's a little more conservative to do that, so prefer that. And we set up the amortization table and we'll send it to them and be like, hey, this is what we're going to follow.
Yeah.
But I would say there's nothing that's too like ultra creative on how we're doing our seller finance deals. We don't offer any seller financing when we sell something. We're only using it when we buy something and that seller wants to finance it to us.
Okay. Okay, cool. And is that, obviously, since you guys are matching and aligning what the banks are doing, well, so let me ask this, especially because you got the seller finance piece and then also the banks. What has changed over the last, outside of the interest rate, the relationship you've had with banks, especially with the rates going up? Is there some push and pull there now differently than it was 12 to 24 months ago? And can you speak on that for a couple minutes?
Yeah, definitely. The thing that's changed the most is the willingness to do CapEx improvement.
Okay.
Money. In the past, we would always been able to have a banking relationship. We use all local community bank type stuff, but have a banking relationship where they would fund construction. We're basically like, if we had a 60-40 loan, as we do our draws, they're putting in 60, we're putting in 40% of the equity. They do 60% of the debt, and we pay whatever the draw is at that point. A lot of the loans we're seeing now is they want us to use all of our equity first and send that out, and then they'll finish off the project with the debt side.
Got it.
So that's a little bit different, but they're still doing. I understand why they want to do that. I understand where they're coming from, but they're still doing the loans for us. We still have a good working relationship with them. And some of these are banks we've been working with for years. So now it's just the equity's got to go first if we're doing a CapEx project. And maybe as, spreads come down a little bit or uncertainty leaves the market a little bit and banks feel a little more comfortable.
Yeah.
It'll go back to, the debt and equity at the same time. But right now it's just equity first is what we're seeing.
Do you focus on smaller local banks to partner with, and since you've grown those relationships, or has it been more of a larger bank focus?
I would say we started with small local banks, and all of those turned into larger regional banks. So they all kind of got purchased, and it really just got bigger and bigger. Georgia in general saw a lot of bank consolidation over the past couple of years, and so now we're all with bigger regional banks.
Got it. Okay.
But they still, for the most part, those acquisitions have been pretty smooth and things have operated consistently, we have a lot of this just the same relationships over the years with the same banker. Although, the bank name has changed over the years as they've just the bank aggregation has been pretty aggressive over the past couple of years.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. After, what happened last year and everything else. Okay. So last few questions before we get you out of here. One is, since you guys have been growing this business for quite some time, is there an online resource or is there a tool that you guys are using to make yourselves more efficient?
Ooh, I mean, all of the stuff that we have, we're using software as a service for all of our applications. We've been a big user of that. We've never really done our own custom software. We've never done anything that's not online. We've never taken payments that aren't online. Everything is web-based.
Yeah.
I think it adds a lot of flexibility for our team members because they can operate from anywhere on any device, that has the internet.
Yeah.
It makes it easy for our tenants and our residents. They can find us. They can make payments or submit requests as easy as possible. There's great, prop tech software out there now, and it continues to just get better and better and cheaper. So, we're a big proponent of using that. We've tried, we play around with the GPT softwares, and we're looking at right now. That's all kind of just playing around, though. We're not actually like building anything in those platforms on the tech side that's making things more efficient.
Got it. Okay. And then any one book that you can recommend for people, especially getting into real estate, that has helped you level up to where you're at today?
All the books I read are normally around different adventure, overcoming challenges and obstacles and sticking with things. That's kind of my more vein that I operate in. But there are, looking at real estate books, I still have, my real estate statistics book.
Oh yeah.
That came with a CD. I don't know. I still have the CD. I don't know how to use it anymore, but I downloaded all the files off it. But that was the basis of all my models. And I think you look at just a good intro to real estate statistics, like taking the base information and being able to stick to, hey, these are my metrics I need to know. I think that's really important. And it's not like a word of mouth. It's you sat down, you look through the numbers and you understand what they need to be for your objectives to be met. And yours and mine, our objectives could be different, but I need to know what mine are and what numbers I need to use. So it's just called Real Estate Statistics. It's a phenomenal book. I don't know if it still comes with a CD. My version's like 15 years old, but the math doesn't change.
Maybe it's drop off the link. Okay, cool. And then Dave, where can people find out about you, your company, and everything else?
Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn, and then our website is greenleafmgmt.com, and we put out a bunch of different just information on deals we're looking at and things we're seeing in the market, really around what deals we're buying, what CapEx projects we're doing, and where we're seeing value.
Okay, cool. And then people can reach out to you directly at LinkedIn, right?
Yep. Yeah, LinkedIn, my phone number, email, everything's on there. So
sweet.
Easy to find.
Perfect, man. I appreciate you coming on and jumping on the podcast.
Yeah, enjoyed it. Thanks, Peter.
Yeah, man. You have a good day. Thanks, Dave.